What's that old YouTube trope? The video I didn't want to make? Yeah, well, this is that. One of them. I mean, probably not my first one, let's be honest. Excuse me, mate. I've got a tow truck coming to get me in a minute.
All right, no problem.
Thanks.
We were looking at it, actually.
So yeah, as you may have gathered from that, I have broken down. I suspect my coupler has completely shat itself, frankly. That's certainly what it sounds like. I was pulling out of a junction onto a main road and just lost drive with a nasty grinding sound. Could be the gearbox, which would be really annoying because I've just sold my spare gearbox. But my strong suspicion is that somehow the coupler, worst case the splines on one side or another have gone. But yeah, probably the coupler is dead, which is weird because it's been completely completely known because there were signs that anything was wrong. But yeah, it's dead. There we are. Fortunately managed to, thanks to the very kind efforts of someone, managed to get myself to the Golden Arches, which has been a much nicer place to wait. So I'm not totally frozen at least, albeit a bit dirty from getting under to put the tow rope on. And as I say, fingers crossed my local car transporter who moved the project car for me will be here in a minute. So these are the symptoms. I hope you get the audio from this. Because it's hooked into here and I can't have that off and the car on. But yeah, in neutral, press the throttle, nasty grinding sound and a bit of vibration. Strongly says to me that the coupler is dead. But we shall find out. Because that is the one small mercy of these things, is that it's all content, isn't it? It's all content, even if I am without a blooming car for a while. Damn it. There we go, all loaded up just like the project car was not long ago. Time to go home. Back home on the drive, thanks to neighbours for helping push it in. Much appreciated, the next door neighbours. Huge thanks to Salim for doing me that at a very sensible rate. It's good to have useful neighbours. Annoyingly, not only is the car balked, the ABS light is on, and if you can see in there, when we were moving it, I managed to yank the door shut and yank the handle clean off. Handle that I've fixed multiple times. So, in order to get this thing back on the road, many jobs to do. Cannot start this today, unfortunately, given it's quite a nice day. I've got a shed load of work to do, having lost significantly more time than I expected from just going out to do a quick errand. So as soon as I can, I will be in scruffs and this car will be coming apart again. No time like the present. I've got about 45 minutes of daylight left. First things first, disconnect the cooling system, get the front balance off, disconnect the high voltage, take out the charger, and then we're probably going to have to, because we can't get the engine crane out here very easily, it'll be on a weird slope, probably, no, we probably will actually take the battery box out whole tomorrow, so where we can lift it back in again. So we'll get the engine crane out tomorrow, lift the battery box out whole, and then we can pop the motor off and have a look inside. But for today, I'll be happy if they get the front balance off, coolant system disconnected, high voltage disconnected, and charger out, and then ready to come in tomorrow with the engine crane. There we go, front balance off. Just a few clips to get the wiring off, and then a couple of hoses for the radiator, and then the 8 little M6 bolts around the outside. A couple on each wing, and off it comes, which makes all the next steps much easier. It would be much easier if my bonnet stayed up, but I haven't got around to fixing that yet, annoyingly. So next step is to get into the high voltage junction box and disconnect the HV, and then we can start unbuckling all the other stuff. Here's the inside of my box of snakes. So I've reused the OEM connectors from the back of the S box. So my high voltage cables come out of the battery. As you can see, they're nice shielded OEM connectors. You have to really stick your fingers in to do yourself damage with those. And they go into what was the back of the S box, which has got these nice safe connectors on, and then connectors go from here into my pre-charge resistor, pre-charge relay, main contactor, other contactor, pre-charge resistor rather, fuse, pre-charge resistor, fuse, pre-charge relay, and then down here 2 spare contactors, which were going to be for the second pack, which I suspect is never going to go in here, so those 2 can come out and probably be sold off, because I suspect I'm not going to need them. But they're not going to come out now, we're just going to fix things. So, high voltage, fully disconnected, gone further than I needed to do. And we can now get on with disconnecting the charger, and disconnecting the inverter, and then all of this is ready to come out. I can tell you with certainty that all of the coolant had not come out, because most of it is now inside my left shoe. When I disconnected the charger, that clearly broke an airlock, and it all just poured out before I'd noticed. Anyway, inverter high voltage is now disconnected. Still love these 3D printed bits that I designed a few years ago. Very, very good. Charger is out. Last thing before we lose the light completely, I've taken out the coolant bottle as well, disconnected the heater coolant bottle from the top of the inverter, and disconnected the low voltage piece of the inverter. The inverter wiring is one of the best bits of the loop. If you ignore the sort of slightly messy aspect there, it's just one disconnectable piece with a bulkhead connector here. I wish the rest of the loom was like that. I'm not going to fix it this time round, but it is one of the things that I'd really like to do, is to have all the loom on bulkhead connectors, so you can just pull pieces off easily. Anyway, need to disconnect the other side of the coolant hose and pop the top of the inverter, which also acts as a high voltage distribution box for the heater and for the charger. Disconnect all those pieces and the 3 phase wires for the motor, and then we can lift the inverter out, and that will do for today. Very much losing the light now, it's getting a bit dark, but all the high voltage connections and phase connections are out. Just got the last coolant hose to get off, and then 3 bolts around the outside, and the inverter can come out as well, and I can stick stuff away, go and cook some dinner, and quite possibly open some wine. It is properly dark now, but inverter gone, and we can see where our problem lies, just about. I don't think you can, I can. But there's our motor, there's the adapter plate, and there's the bell housing of the gearbox, and somewhere in that adapter plate or bell housing I suspect there is some ugliness. So tomorrow, got some work to do in the morning, a few calls, but then we get the engine crane out, we pull this battery box, pull that cradle, and then unbolt the motor. I'm going to leave the gearbox where it is. I'm just going to unbolt the motor and slide it out. What would be really nice is if I had my lift, which is under the other car, but having spent ages getting the motor in the new car into the right position, I'm very loath to move it. So instead we'll do this one with a jack and just try and slide it out without damaging anything more. It's knackered. It's the next day. It's 10:30, 25 to 11. I've cleared my diary. This is important. I need this car back. So one of the things that really annoys me about this car, one of the big mistakes I made, is I didn't put lifting eyes on the battery box. 100% designing lifting eyes and a framework to carry the load into the battery box for the GT project. There's no point adding them to this one, because if things go well, then this battery box will be scrap in a year's time. And hopefully, or I hope rather, that I won't have to take it out again after today if things go really well, after, you know, the coming weekend if things don't. Lifting is not ideal. It's very hard not to put some pressure on the high voltage junction box with the straps, but I don't have a lot of options, so let's hope it doesn't crack while I lift it. Now we can see what we're getting at. Motor mount on the front there, cage over the top for mounting the inverter and other ancillaries. So I think probably get a jack underneath the motor, get that cage and motor mount off, and then we can pull it. I shall do that off camera, and I shall bring you back for the big reveal as the motor comes out. Honestly, what idiot designed this? There are bolts on both faces of the motor, and I can't actually get my fingers on that one, and it's too loose for a ratchet, so I'm having to do it turn by turn. That little one down there, absolute ball ache. You ready? Oh, tell me there's not another one. It's weight and the wedge of the wood holding it in now, I think. I really wish my engine crane wasn't otherwise engaged right now, although I was just stronger. That looks interesting. That doesn't look right. Oh. There's half a coupler. Right. These cables out of the way. Roll this on its back. Sure enough, half a coupler. And another half a coupler. You can see, if I can do this without getting covered in coolant, it's sheared cleanly along the weld line. This is all weld around the top here, and it's just sheared off. This is perfect. This means with some minor modifications to the design, we can just weld it back up again and put everything back together. That is the best possible scenario. Amazing. That was great. Actually, that's the perfect outcome. So, plan now is, albeit it says terrible things about my welding, but I have done a welding course since I welded that up, so you know, maybe I'll do better this time. Plan is to tidy up a bit, get things under cover as much as I can, because it's about to rain, I think, have some lunch, and then this afternoon get the coupler chucked up in the lathe as a way of just holding it all straight and true, if I can. And then put a nice bead of weld around there, maybe with some extra sort of zigzags or something, to really make sure I get some penetration between the clutch centre and the tube. And then maybe tidy it up again in the lathe a little bit, take off any excess weld so it's nice and round and doesn't vibrate too much, and then start sticking it all back together again, although am I going to have the energy to put it all back together this afternoon? We shall see. It is sodding miserable out here. It keeps raining, the temperature's dropped right down, the wind's got up. It's a very unpleasant place to be working right now. Still, I want this car back on the road. So back on the phone rather than the camera because of the rain. Got it all aligned and chucked up in the vise, so I can rotate it now. I could even set it on a slow rotation while I put a bead down. I think the plan is probably to just clean a little bit away, put a tack on so that the two pieces at least tack together and won't move relative to each other. Then I can clean up the rest of it and get some weld down. Part of me's tempted to put some zigzags in. Yeah, we'll see how much I can be bothered to do that, because then I've got to clean up a load more weld afterwards as well. Okay, so I've cut some slots. I'm talking loud, it's because I've got my ear defenders on. I've cut some slots here crosswise, so we'll make sure there's a bead that goes all the way through there. I've actually cut I've cut a slot all the way around as well at the junction point, so that we've got to actually get some weld right in there as well. So unfortunately, the slowest rotation speed on the current gear set, and I'm not changing the gear set for this, is a bit too fast for welding all the way around neatly. So I'm going to have to do that by hand. So I'll weld a bit, rotate it, weld a bit, rotate it, and then we'll spin it up in the lathe and try and we'll use the mixture of the grinder and the lathe to try and tidy it up again. They say a bad workman blames his tools, but I genuinely think it's time to retire my skip find welder. Even with its newish torch, getting consistent wire feed out of it, and obviously it lives outside, you know, I've got nowhere to put it indoors, but getting consistent wire feed out of it is an absolute nightmare. So you get these patches where you get, you know, not great but reasonable welds. It looks like pretty decent penetration judging by the sort of heat spread around them, and then you get moments where it just does this and you just can't get it, just the wire just doesn't feed at all. So I'm going to clean all that up, per the previous person commenting, put something on to protect the bed a little bit. I'm going to clean all that up and then see if we need to go over it all again. Bit of a clean up and we can see what we've got. Clearly a complete lack of good weld there, so I'll have to come back and go over that again. But elsewhere things are looking rather better. It's a bit of a mixed bag all round, to be honest. So I'm going to try and sort out the wire feed issue, go back over and then clean up again. Is it perfect? No. Is it going to last a year? Probably. A little bit more cleanup, not too much. I really feel like I've lost a bit of thickness of the pipe trying to smooth things down. A little bit more cleanup, and then I'm going to throw this back in the car. There we go. One whole coupler, which I'm hoping lasts a year or so. I don't think it's perfect, but as I say, this whole setup, should this one work out, is all going to be replaced anyway. So it only has to last so long. I shall not film putting all this back together, partly because I can't be bothered, if I'm honest, and partly because you've seen it all come apart. You don't need to see it all be put back together. But I will slap it together, and in the next episode we shall go for a drive and see how it fares. So that's a good place to leave it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you now know what died and left me stranded at the side of the road. I'm glad I know. And you've seen me really bodge a repair. It'll do for now. If you enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe, watch some more. Lots more work coming on the GT. I've just been waiting on parts for that, which have just arrived actually while I'm out the back welding. So should be some progress on that soon. Bye bye.